Hello everyone, today we are doing our balance sequence. So this is a really fun class. It'll be quite tricky, you might bring up some stuff with some of the postures, but remember to just have fun and be playful, and it's going to be doing a lot of balance sequences, balance postures. So you'll need a block. I've got one at the end of each mat because I'm demonstrating, but you can just have one at the top of your mat. If you don't have a block, you can use something like a Tupperware container or a big book, or even like a drink bottle or something just to help with. We're going to be going into a half moon pose at the end, so it's just going to help with one posture. And if you don't have anything, that's okay. You can still do this the class without having a block, but it might just help with the last one. Enjoy. Start standing at the top of the mat, and I will be changing from standing in the middle and the top just because I'm demonstrating for you, but you'll be doing everything probably from the top of the mat facing me. So if you're side on, maybe actually place your mat long ways in front of me, and then that will help you with being able to see everything. Okay, so just standing here at the top of your mat and arrive with your feet on the ground, doing some big shoulder rolls. Also, I'm just muting everyone, but you can unmute at any time if you have a question. Some nice shoulder rolls, and arrive here. And then with hands by the side, standing nice and tall. And imagine you're zipping up your jeans. So we're just like engaging the core muscles slightly as we stand nice and tall with our spine and engage our core. And then taking in a nice deep breath. In through the nose and out through the mouth. And again, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. And then starting to just like feel the mat between your feet, and we're just going to play around with the balance here. So it's just starting to like rock forward and then to the side and to the back, and just like play around with like how far you can go with your balance. And then finally finding an even stance on your feet, so trying to feel the weight disperse evenly amongst your feet. And then inhaling, we reach up. And then just leaning over to one side, feeling a nice side stretch, and then coming back up and leaning over to the other side, inhaling long, and then exhale to lean over, and then inhaling up one more time. This time stepping your right foot behind your body, and then leaning over to the left side. And then coming back, stepping the left foot back, leaning over to the right side. So a bit more for side stretch this time. And then coming back to stand. Both hands down. Now feeling into the left foot this time, and just starting to feel the grounding in the left foot, evenly dispersing the weight on the left foot, and then just starting to pick up the right and start to play around with the weight, so we can bring our foot across our body and then to the outside, and maybe we can bring it behind and look over our left shoulder. Just playing around with the weight, and if you wobble and fall over, that's good because you're pushing your boundaries with this. So just start to play around with having a bit of fun with and playfulness with it. And then bringing the foot back down and placing the foot over the arch of the left foot. So we're coming into a tree pose here, and focusing a spot in front of you that's not moving, And again, try to zip up the jeans, engaging the core. And then once we feel balanced, we can bring our foot just below the knee. And if that's comfortable, we can try to bring it above the knee. So just never put it on the knee, it's always above or below. And some days your balance can be a bit wobbly, other days it can be quite good. So sometimes you might be able to do this tree pose, but on another day you might need to go back to the first one, that's okay. And then we can do a few different things with the hands. We can keep them nice and wide. You can bring them to your heart, or you can bring them up like tree branches. And just imagine that you're growing tall like a tree, but then your roots are growing out of the bottom of your feet, also like a tree. And then you can even play around with closing your eyes as well to see how your balance is with that. And then we might have a few wobbles. Then slowly placing the foot back down. And lifting the same knee up. And just finding balance again here. We're going to slowly tip our body forward and extend our leg back. And we're going to try and land in a high lunge. And find your balance here. A wider stance with your high lunge is easier between your feet. So if you have a wider train tracks between your front and back foot, that will help with the balance. Then once we've found our balance between our 2 feet, we can inhale and reach our hands up. That's it. And then exhaling and releasing our hands into a cactus. So it's like this with our elbows bent. That's it. And then inhaling, we come up. And exhale, we go back down. And we can even drop the knee a tiny bit if you want a bit more of work on your back leg. Inhale, come up. And exhale, coming down. And one more. And then this one time, both hands come to frame the front foot. And we're going to step the left foot back into our downward facing dog. And just waggle our tail here. Waggle our head. Just release any tension, let it hang there. And then inhaling and lifting the left foot back up. Oh, and looking in between your hands so that when we step our foot in between our hands, we can see where we're going. So, and then inhaling, coming back up into a high lunge. And then stepping the back foot in. And then we're going to, again, tip our body forward. And then try and balance again, landing with both feet on the mat. And then now turning the weight into our right foot. Oh, lifting up our left. Bringing our foot across our body. And then to the back and around. And maybe you can look over your right shoulder at your foot. And then just play around with the weight. You can get a bit weird with this. There's no rules. Just play with the extremities, and if you fall over, that's a good thing. And then come back into stillness, focusing on a place in front of you, and we'll place that foot over the arch of the right foot. And then finding balance here in your first tree pose. And this might be okay for today. It's perfectly okay to take this option. And then again, engaging our core, making our spine nice and long. This will help with the balance. Then we can bring the foot below the knee or above the knee. And again, just trying to focus on something, not moving in front of you. And then take a few different options with your hands, either to the heart or up like tree branches, or even out nice and wide. You can do whatever feels good for you. You can even do swaying tree branches. So just hit my light. And just remembering that growing upwards and downwards at the same time. So we're feeling that extension in our spine and our bottom grounded leg. And then slowly placing the foot back down. And then starting to tip our body forward as we lift our knee up and start to step that foot backwards into our high lunge. And again, play around with your train tracks. You can put your hands down for this if you want to find your balance first. But the wider that you have your stance, the easier it is for the balance. Once you are feeling grounded in both feet, you can inhale, reach your hands up. And then exhale, bring our hands into cactus. Yep. So, and then inhaling, straighten the front leg as we reach up. And then exhale, we bend down. And the lower we go here, we've got a bit more work on our back thigh. Inhaling up and exhaling down. And one more. And then we frame our front foot with both of our hands. So now we're in a low lunge, and then stepping the right foot backwards into our downward facing dog. And nice stretch here in our hands, all the way up, our arms and the back, all the way up to the top of our hips. And just gradually starting to make sure our knees are quite bent so that we can bring our chest towards our thighs. We don't need our heels on the ground. And then just do any movements that feel good. Maybe you pedal from side to side. And then just remembering the breath, nice and slowly through your nostrils. And releasing any tension through your mouth. And then inhaling and lifting up the right foot. And then looking in between your hands and then placing the foot there. Nice and slowly. And then inhaling, we come up into our high lunge once more. And then stepping the foot back in just slightly, and then we can come up and try and land both feet down. There we go. And again, standing nice and tall at the top of your mat. Lifting the left foot up. No. Yeah, lifting the left foot up, and we'll just like rotate the ankle. Sorry, actually we'll lift the right foot up. We should do right first because that's what we did last time. Yeah, so right foot up, balancing on your left foot and lifting the right foot. We'll do some little ankle twists. And again, just balancing here on our left foot. And then bringing our foot up, and maybe we can grab our toe. Yeah. And if you want to at any point, you can just stay here at this pose. This is okay to balance here. If you haven't done some of these poses in yoga before, you can just stay here and try and balance like this. Otherwise, the extension is to try and push your leg out in front of you while you're balancing. And then you can even play around with going to the side. So you can even just like play around with the balance here. You can just kind of have your knee bent and then play around with going to the side and to the front. And then just always coming back here. And if you've done this before, you might try and hold it to the side. And then to make it a bit harder, you look over the opposite hand. So your leg will be going to the right and your gaze will be going to the left. So there's options for everyone. Again, use your spare hand to help with your balance. It's okay just to balance here. Then keeping this knee bent. And we're going to, again, one more time, tip our body forward and try and step that foot backwards, again, into our high lunge. And then inhale, reaching our hands up. And then we exhale and we're going to twist into our front leg. So we're doing a twisted lunge. And at this point, if this is quite intense, you can drop your back knee, and we can do this posture like this with our back knee dropped. So we're doing a twisted high or low lunge. And then inhaling here. And then dropping the back hand, and our front hand turns up, and we reach up to the ceiling. Then you can look up to your top hand here, or even down to your bottom leg. So some options here. And then cartwheel in our hands. So our right hand is going to ground on the ground, and we're going to step our front foot back into a side plank. And again, here we can just drop our right leg if we want to have a supported side plank. If you haven't done many side planks before, that's okay, we can do this one here. Or if you're just feeling a bit tired today, you can take this option. Or Jen, you might even be able to grab your top leg with your fingers on your big toe and extend that leg up and out. And then lifting that leg back up and try and place it in between both hands at the top of the mat. That's it. And or we can just like step it forward slowly, that's also okay. One more time, finding our balance before we come up into our high lunge. And then slightly stepping the back foot in. And then we're going to, again, tip our body forward. And we're going to try and come into our warrior three. And again, you can just play around with the weight a few times, stepping back and then stepping forward. And just play around with coming up. So try and keep, when we're coming forward, imagining that we're kind of just taking lift off. And you can just keep doing this between the two postures, or you might be able to come into the warrior three and hold it with our hands nice and long by our side, or our hands into our heart. And then one last time, tipping our body up and then placing our legs back down. And then finding balance again between the 2 feet. And then now coming onto the right leg, and we lift the left foot up. Doing a few little ankle rolls, trying to spread out the toes. Getting feeling nice and balanced in our right leg. And then slowly bringing that leg up towards us and grabbing the big toe with our 2 fingers. And we can stay here in this balanced posture. You can even go back to one of the tree poses, and that's also okay to do that. We can play around if you haven't done many balanced postures before. Or you might be able to extend your leg out in front of you or to the side. So you can just play around with the different options. And then just using this spare hand to help with your balance. Or again, trying to focus on something in front of you. You might notice that this leg is different in your balance to the other legs. Sometimes we're different on each leg, and that's okay. And then keeping that knee bent, and we're going to slowly tip our body forward and extend the foot back and land one more time in our high lunge. Again, trying to find nice train tracks with our feet. Once we're feeling grounded, inhaling and reaching up. And on the exhale, we twist into the front hand, the front leg. So our left hand will come forward and right hand come back. We can drop the knee here. We can do this in a low lunge. And then turning the front hand, and the back hand slides down the back of our leg, and we reach up to the ceiling, which might be a bit wobbly, that's okay. Looking up to the top hand or down to your bottom feet. And then we come back through our twisted lunge and tip our body forward so that our left hand places right near our right foot, and then we step that foot backwards into our side plank. And again, we can just drop our foot here if we need a supported side plank. Or you might even be able to do what we were doing in the standing posture, which is to grab the toe and to extend your leg up. So you can play around with that as well. And then that foot, lifting up one more time, and we can just walk it back up, or you might be able to look to your top hand and turn your body and land it in one piece at the top of the mat. And finding balance with our train tracks, inhaling, lifting up, stepping our foot back in slightly, and then lifting off, and we come into our warrior three. And just changing between the two positions, between a shortened high lunge and a warrior three. Just playing around with tipping the balance forward and back. Try and do it with your breath. If you inhale when you extend and then exhale as you come forward, that can help things. And then you might be able to stay in the posture, balancing on your right leg with your hands by your side in aeroplane arms, or even in your chest. And then tipping our body up once more, extending and placing both hands down. Now this is the time that we're going to use our block, because we're going to become into a half moon pose, and we'll just prepare for that. So now bringing the weight to your left foot, lifting your right knee up, and one more time extending the foot back and trying to land into a high lunge. And this time turning the back foot, so we should have the arch to the heel, so the heel to arch alignment between your front and back foot, and we extend our hands wide into our warrior two posture. And just focusing on bending the knee slightly, and just focusing that the knee is stacked above our ankle, and then looking over the middle finger of our front hand, and then inhaling, straightening the front leg, and we reach up, and on the exhale we can come back down into our warrior two, and two more like this, connecting the breath with the movement. And then this is where we're going to prepare for the half moon pose. So if we just step our back foot in slightly, and then we're going to try and come up like we were with the warrior three, but we're doing it with our hips to the side this time. So instead of our hips facing forward, we're doing this posture on the side, yeah? And then we're just kind of tipping our body forward, and then you can use your block or your book or water bottle, whatever balancing object you have at the top of your mat here, to come up. So our hips will be open, and we're balancing up and to the side like this. And you can come back down to your warrior two again and try and tip back up. You can even just, you don't even need to hold the posture, you can just practice, you know, tipping from warrior two into half moon. And just be a bit playful with it. If you're falling over, it's okay. And then there we are. We'll bring our foot back to the top of the mat, and hands back down by our side. And again, bringing our weight into our right foot, we'll try the same thing on the other leg. So lifting up the left foot, and then slowly tipping our body forward and trying to step our foot back into a high lunge. Well, once we've found the high lunge and we're comfortable there, then we can twist the back foot. So we've got a straight back foot, and then our front foot is going long ways along the mat. So the heel to the arch alignment between our feet, extending our hands wide, into our warrior two. And then just focusing on the knee and where that is. So try and stack that over the ankle so that's not coming in or going out. We're just having a nice straight knee to protect that. Looking over the middle finger. And then straightening the front leg and inhaling, coming up. And then exhale. And one more time, inhaling, coming up. And exhale. Nice and slow movements with your breath. Painting your fingers through the air. And then we'll come on to half moon on this side. So stepping the back foot in just slightly. And that will help you with practicing to tip your body up to the side. And it's okay if you just play around like this, trying to tip up and down. And you might find that you can end up coming up and balancing using your block or your Tupperware container or Harry Potter books, they're good size. Then again, if you're balancing fine with the block, then that's when you can take the block away and you can see how your balance goes without that. And then twisting our hips forward into our high lunge once more. And lifting off, placing our foot nice and slowly back down to the top of our mat. And standing here one more time. Hands coming to our rib cage. And just closing our eyes. Breathing in through our nose and out through our mouth. And seeing if we can feel our breath expand our rib cage as we inhale. And the rib cage deflates as we exhale. Just taking a few centering breaths. And then you might be able to continue this with our hands by our side. Bringing awareness into our breath. And slowing everything down. Thanking yourself for practicing today. And then taking a sense of balance into the rest of your day. And thinking about how we can apply balance off the mat. So thinking about something today that you can do for yourself to bring your body or your mental state, something back into balance. And inhaling, reaching up to the top of the room, and then exhaling and bringing our hands through into our chest. And we'll bow all together. Namaste.